The phone suddenly rang. I woke up in a hurry. The clock read 9 p.m.
しまった。定時連絡の時間を寝過ごした。
I picked up the receiver.
赤坂様、外線からお電話が入っておりますが、おつなぎしてもよろしいでしょうか。ご同僚の加納様と申されております。
I knew it. I didn't call in, so they phoned me.
すみません。つないでください。
かしこまりました。おつなぎしますので、一度受話器を置いてお待ちください。
After I put down the receiver for a few seconds, the phone began to ring again.
はい、もしもし。赤坂です。
赤坂くん、加納です。お疲れ様。定時連絡がなかったので、こちらからかけました。そちらの状況はどう？
Leaving the lecture for later, my senior coworker got straight to the point.
今日は、ひなみ沢村へ実島に行きました。観光客を装うことで、村長以下の何人かの種同盟の要人との接触に成功。何も聞き出すには至りませんでしたが、好印象を得て、明日以降へのつなぎを作ることができました。
そう、なかなか手際がいいね。赤坂くんのどこか初々しい感じが、むしろ武器になったのかもしれないね。まずは上守備ってところかな。
比較するほど経験がないので、上守備かはわかりませんが、とりあえず、今日のところは順調だと思います。
県警での情報や地元警察の公安での情報と照らしてどう？鬼ヶ淵死守同盟は白っぽい？
I still didn't know. I should have been able to say that immediately. I only had to say that, but for some reason, I hesitated.
まだ調査中ですので、なんとも。
I'm so ass at Toho? No, I thought you were the goat.
そう。
What happened?
なるべく早めにね。わかってると思うけど、今夜が終われば、誘拐から丸4日が経過する。
I remember you wanted to do the hardest difficulty, right?
いつが時間切れという明白な区切りはないけど、時間の経過は確実に我々の状況を不利にしていく。それは分かってるよね。
ええ、分かっています。
That's a whole task in and of itself. Yeah, yeah.
迅速に。だけれど、細心の注意で調査を続けます。
うん。くれぐれも気をつけてね。相手は暴力主義団体なんだから。油断すれば危険もあり得るからね。危険が迫ったらすぐに連絡を。その場合は地元公安に応援体制を入れられるようにするからね。
I played 6, right? Which was the one I played? I can't remember.
ありがとうございます。頑張ります。
You did 8. Okay.
他に赤坂くんの方から連絡はある？
I reported several bits of supplementary information, and at the end, I decided to ask.
そちらの調査の進展はどうですか？
うん。こっちもみんな頑張ってるけど、なかなかはかどらないよ。
Oh my gosh.
何しろ、調べる団体が星の数だからね。だから、君の方の団体も白だと
You plan on doing 2 today? Well, I plan on going 2 hours per stream, so depends how long that takes. If it's just 1 hour per, then yeah, we'll do 2.
室長は、鬼ヶ淵も洗っとけって言ってるけど、俺は鬼ヶ淵なんかの反ダム住民団体なんかは、今回の件、全く無縁だと思ってるからね。職員一人を一団体調べさせるためだけに出張させるのは、すごく痛いよ、ほんと。
Little do you know, at this point he was just complaining. He was telling me to stop talking, stop taking time enjoying my trip to finish up and get back
なるべ
quickly.
く早めにケリをつけるようにします。
うん、よろしくね。
6 is all the iconic characters. Which iconic characters does it have at 6 that it doesn't have an 8?
じゃあ、他に何もなければ切るよ。
はい、特にありません。
As we were ending our call, he scolded me for thoroughly being late with my regular report. After that, I hung up on the phone and sprawled on the bed. Come to think of it, I hadn't heard anything from Oishi. He was supposed to contact me about a time and a place to meet with the informant tonight. I thought about getting angry with Oishi in retaliation for being scolded for forgetting my daily report. Come to think of it, though, Oishi didn't really say anything other than he was going to call tonight. Waiting for a phone call when he didn't know what time it was going to come was itself rather difficult. Oh, well, there it is. Vermilion Flandre and Patchouli. Those are some interesting names. The only one that I know from Toho, like, just, before I played it, was Reimu. That was the one that I knew. Now, just when I thought that, the phone rang. I picked up the receiver in a hurry.
もしもし。
これはびっくりしました。赤坂さん、あなた受話器取るの早いですね。警官辞めても大企業の営業で十分飯が
What
食
are
えま
you
すよ。
saying, Oishi?
まだ警官辞めた後のことなんか考えたこともありません。
そこまで過剰に反応されると面白いなあ。しかしいけないなあ。因果な商売ですし。
Oishi's theme
今
is
から考
playing
えて
so
も遅くない
often
です
here.
よ。
I guess it's like the only time it plays, really. It doesn't seem like, at least since you didn't really know what this song was, it seems like it doesn't play in the other chapters.
遠慮いたしますので、本題に入ってください、大石さん。
そうですか。それは残念です。じゃあ、では本題に。
I'm sure you've seen Flounder before? How does she look? Many of the executives and Onigafuchi guardians had a lot of sway in the neighboring regions. Even in Okinomiya, there were a lot of people with relations in the village. That's why a meeting in the Shishiboni market district far from Okinomiya was a matter of course.
赤坂さん、こっちこっち。ちょっと迷いましたか。北口からの方が遠回りだけど、道は分かりやすかったかもしれませんね。
Oh, this is where I think people they meet up for mahjong, right?
いえ、遅れて申し訳ありませんでした。
夕飯はもう食べちゃいました。
ええ、済ませてあります。
じゃあ、お酒の飲めるお店に行きましょうか。洋酒派、日本酒派、女の子のいる店といない店はどっちがいいですかね。
お構いなく、勤務中は飲みませんので。
Hearing that, the man Oishi had brought along bent backwards as he guffawed, clapping Oishi on the shoulder.
ねえ、初々しい人でしょ。その分ちょっぴりサービスしてあげてくださいよ。あのお金は全部彼のお財布から出てるんですからね。
That man that Oishi had brought seemed almost like a ticket scalper or a bookie. Even his appearance was dubious. The informant grinned deviously.
おい、坊主。
Sato.
お前、旦那にいくら渡した？だいぶ途中でつまみ食いされてんぞ。
大石氏への仲介手数料も含めていますから、それも含んだ上です。
It seemed that the informant had expected a more extravagant reaction on my part. When I responded matter-of-factly, he realized that I was an entirely different type of person than he was. But rather than putting a distance between us, it seemed that I had piqued his interest.
だから言ったでしょ。
Laundry Toho. Oh, her. Okay. Yeah, I've definitely seen her before. Okay. You know what? I guess at this point in time, let me look at that. Toho Surno. Oh, yeah, I've seen her, I think. Let me just go to main screen. Amelia. Oh, I've definitely seen her. Wait, this character is everywhere. Yeah, I've definitely seen her. Laundry. Oh yeah, that's the one from before. What am I missing? Patchouli. Wait, who's this? I don't know her. I don't know her.
真面目な人なんです。でもね、赤坂さん、私たちのような職種の人間は豊富な社会経験がとても武器になるんですよ。
女の子がいて、お酒が飲めるお店での経験がどう武器になるか疑問です。
The informant, unable to contain himself, clutched at his... Saki is also a fight in that game. Oh, nice. Guffawed, heedless of the people watching.
もう赤坂さんはいちいち察しがいいな。よっ、さすが高学歴。
That's pretty cool, though. Is Maria fighting that game? Maria?
大石さん。
My day was good. It was a very productive day, I would say. I woke up. Slay the Spire 2 news got dropped. It is crazy. Marissa, sorry, my bad. I always forget. She's a playable character. Okay. Slay the Spire 2 news dropped today. Release date is March 5th. I'm definitely going to be getting that. Day 1. It is co-op as well. They're going to be... They have confirmed 5 characters. It seems like there's going to be 6 characters. I don't know how much Slay the Spire news you've been keeping up with, but there's going to be alternate acts. It's not just like one act for 1, 2, and 3. It's now going to be one of 2 acts for like the, you know, as we progress. Like it's going to be alternate versions, which is cool, which is different enemies, different events, like everything about the game has changed. It is so amazing. Hi, Ruben. I don't know if I said hi. It is the sleazy Oishi thing.
あなた、どこかで飲んできましたね。酔っ払ってます。
オフタイムに飲んで何が悪いんですか？あなたは勤務中でも私はオフ。オフ。
Oishi, who was the sort that fool around to begin with, was in such a good mood, I couldn't figure out a way to deal with him. Completely different than me, who had come worried about getting every bit of information I could. Today was decent, moved a few boxes over to the new place. Nice! That's great. And how is that move going? I didn't get as much sleep as I would have liked to, though, because I just ended up waking up, which sucks. Pretty good. Basically, all my sister's stuff is out. Oh, damn. Okay. The garage is the big thing. Oh, yeah, I can imagine there's a lot of stuff probably just sitting there in the garage. After taking so much money, you were supposed to get me information worth at least as much. I thought this, but then realized I was getting my information from the informant, so it didn't matter how drunk Oishi was. There was nothing I could complain about, but I still felt slightly riled up. Oishi and the informant, it was no doubt a fake name, but he introduced himself as Sato. Led the way deeper and deeper into the back streets of the market district. Like plastic bins. Okay. Makes sense. How full was your garage? Because some people's garages can be completely stacked with things. Even though the market was bustling, a couple of turns off the main street and you were in a desolate alleyway. Oishi started climbing a set of stairs on the side of a seedy building. How are you doing today, Ruben? As well? It's not absurdly full, but it's a decently big pile. Fair. So you're gonna have to do multiple trips then. There wasn't any sort of signage, so I couldn't tell if the place was open, or if it was even a store at all.
安心してください。怪しい店じゃありませんよ。
Those words coming from Oishi's mouth had absolutely no credibility. Beyond the door was, thankfully, typical mahjong parlor. I was relieved that it wasn't the sort of suspicious place that I had to be on my guard about.
はい、いらっしゃ
I'm
い。
doing okay, didn't do much today? That's okay.
あら、大石さん、お久しぶり。こっち入ります？すぐ開きますよ。
いいえ。今日はセットですからいいです。お、待たせましたね。
Mahjong is a game played with 4 people. It seemed that the middle-aged man who was going to be our 4th had already arrived and was waiting for us.
遅えぞクラウド。俺はもう消えろと思ってたんだから。
Oishi made an excuse for why we had taken so long. Eventually realizing that I was a new face, the other man grew interested.
彼は赤坂さん。
Mahjong. What is Mahjong like similar to?
東京からはるばる出張
Like
さ
a
れてきた
four-way board
将
game
来
seems
有望な
interesting.
新人さんです。
坊主、お前麻雀はできんのか？
A stray cat is laying on top of the big pile this morning, though. Oh yeah, wait, you're gonna leave your stray cat on during your move. Wait, that's so sad. Mahjong is just its own thing, okay. What is it
まあ
like?
学生時代にそこそこに。
Is it like cards in any shape or form? Yeah, we can't take her with, unfortunately. That's sad. To bid farewell to her. I know it's tiles, right? But like, is it like Scrabble? Like Like, what? There has to be some comparison. Like, it's not. It can't be like its own. There has to be something you could compare it to. Sato and the old man cackled in unison. Their plot to sucker me out of my money was painfully obvious.
緊張続きの出張で疲れておいでだろうと思いましてね。
Let's see. Let's look this up then. Things similar to mahjong. It's all niche things that I don't know. Gin rummy. What is gin rummy? I feel like I've heard that before though.
一つ今夜は心の選択でもして差し上げましょうかと思いまして。
今更野暮なことを聞きますが、私たち警察官ですよね。
Dude, what is the...
まあそれは一個なしで。なーに、10歳にはかけるわけじゃありませんよ。この後いいお店に遊びに行くときに誰が全員分を払うのか決めるだけですって。
Dude, I don't know why. The more I like interact with Oishi, the more he gets me mad anytime he talks. I don't know why.
どんな
Like
店
in
に
depth.
遊びに
No,
行
no,
く
no,
ん
I
ですか？
get you, Without reservation, the three of them started suggesting places like cabarets, high-class clubs, and even brothels. At the very least, they were the type of places that he couldn't go to with money that was just for funsies.
私のお金は先日、大石さんに根こそぎ預けて、支払いは不可能ですし。
じゃあ坊主が勝てばいいじゃねえかよ。おめえが勝ったらこの雀荘の支払いはなしで、クラウドに仕事の話でも何でもすればいい。
No matter what happened, it seemed like they were intent on playing mahjong for free. I'd have to fasten my resolve a bit. If I was going to be underestimated like this forever, it was going to get in the way of my work.
わかりました。では、少しだけお付き合いします。私が勝ったら、アフターの遊びは一切なしで、すぐに仕事の話に入ってもらいますからね。
いいですとも。
Is he going to roll them? Does Oishi have aura? When he's in detective mode, he definitely does. When he's just like this, he has a negative
俺が
aura.
勝ったらフラワーのブルー
He
マー
is
メイド
the
に直
he's
行
the
だからね。
fat old man. Oh, that place where girls dress up in gym clothes and maid
おや
uniforms?
さんも好きだな。私はもちろん馴染みの店をはしごしまくりですよ。
Have you ever tried mahjong, Ruben? That's where you'll go. To Blue Mermaid or Flower Road.
佐藤さんはどうします？
私は静かに飲めるお店でいいですよ。
静かにバニーさんと。
Nope, I never
でしょ？
really you never heard it before Higurashi. Damn. Well, I guess I don't know how long ago you read Higurashi actually, so maybe it could have been your first thing.
この間飲みに行った時、あんたバニーさんの尻尾を引っこ抜いちゃったでしょ。あれ結局弁償だったの？
You pay for that?
マスターに縫製代とか言われて一本ドンペリ開けられたな。
What a lively table this was. I could tell the other customers were glaring at us while we loudly continued our crude conversation. Speaking of which, the fact that they assumed I was the same was a bit disheartening. I remember you telling me you've played it before, Dianea. A lot of these Japanese games like shogi and mahjong and I think there's one more, Go. I have absolutely no clue how to do any of them. Like every time I'm in a plane, I've tried to play Go, and it's I had no clue what was happening. I looked at the rules and I tried to get it, but I just could not. We should have taken all the money that I'd brought, so everything I had left was out of my own pocket. In addition, there wasn't that much left of that either. If I kept on hanging around him like this through his goading, my wallet would disappear into the night. I had to somehow win and return the conversation to my job. These people, no matter how you looked at it, were pretty good. Sorry, Yukie. There's no way we're having club activity song with Akasaka and Oishi.
そんじゃこれでリーチっと。
Yeah, basically. Well, the old man and Sato probably wouldn't fall for this silly Richi. If Akasaka-kun will spit out what I need. Wait, no, I have to laugh like Oishi.
どうせこの辺だろこの辺なら通るだろ
There's a Yu-Gi-Oh archetype named... Well, who's getting the punishment? Well, probably Akasaka. Considering he's the one that has to pay, right? Named after a mahjong tile. What's the mahjong tile it's named after?
それ
Oh-ho! The old man's pretty good. He's quietly trying to use one of my safe tiles to complete his hand, isn't he? It seems that Akasaka-kun... Akasaka-kun has at least learned the ropes when it came to guarding against someone's Richi. But that will be his downfall.
どうした坊主サクッと切らねえかいよくわからなかったらクラウドと同じもんを切ってるや安全
Ooh, Akasaka-kun's really fretting over this one. It was glaringly obvious that he had a safe tile to discard, but he didn't want to throw it away because it would be move him further from completing his hand. They're so nice when they're young and innocent. Come on and hurry up and throw out the kicker. If he gave me the winning tile, we'd be headed to an establishment where I could do all sorts of things of okay. If he gives the old man his winning tile, we'll be headed straight to the place with maids and bloomers.
これは通りますか
He looked up as he hesitantly threw a tile that was, oh, too bad.
おいおい危ねえパイだぞクラウド通るのか
Do I wear bloomers? No. I'm a long pants enjoyer. I dislike wearing short pants, so I do not wear any bloomers. Yeah. It's when you're one tile away from winning and Tenpai is all about pushing victory. Ah, cool. Lame! Yeah, I don't know. I like having things covering myself.
いい通りますよ。
Pants is the... I agree, pants are great. It seems this time you were lucky. But as long as the round kept going, I could still win off the draw. But after that, Akasaka, can you watch this right now? It's a YouTube short. It's so quick. Why'd you put the 5-minute one then? If it's a short. Pete Claire? Okay, let's see. Oh, is it go down and... Oh? Hey, that's funny. Yeah, that's funny. I need to do that one day. Because it's really easy to get out. You're gonna be laughing like Oishi by the end of... Well, that's that's what it wants me to do. What's a bloomer? Oh no. Don't tell him. Wait, I just realized what you said, Dianea. I did not say that. When did I say that? I distinctly remember saying I do not wear it, and I wear pants, actually. But after that, Akasaka-kun managed to luckily avoid throwing any bad tiles, and somehow the round managed to end without anybody completing a hand.
Tenpai.
It's Berserk on the Discord.
先輩
当点
Sato-san had keenly anticipated that two players were in Richi and decided to play it safe. What a cool-headed way of playing. Now let's see what kind of hand did Akasaka-kun have. When the round ends with nobody winning in Mahjong, anybody in Tenpai has to show their hand. But if you're not in Tenpai, you have no obligation to reveal it. Your average beginner would normally show their hand even if they weren't in Tenpai, and start a commotion about how if this tile or that tile came, they would be in Tenpai. But he didn't. Being stingy.
どうだって坊主ちょっと見せてみ
Sato-san reached over to flip the hand that Akasaka-kun had casually placed face down.
なんじゃこりゃ
He was nowhere near Tenpai. Was Akasaka-kun totally bad at this after all? Right then, as the old man compared the tile from Akasaka-kun's hand to the discard pool, a puzzled expression crossed his face.
おめえこの辺りで張っとるだろどうして切った？
マンズの高いあたりが急に高騰しましたので抑えました。大石さんのリーチに対して安全性が高まったのにです。筋でさばけば無難なのにわざわざ抑えた方がいる。
おうクラウドのテンパイなど鼻から論外って
相当高度な引っ掛けでなければ私の宝珠を期待したぬるめの手かと思って。それよりもダマで張ったあなたの方がとりあえずは問題でした。
いつテンパイしたのに気づいた？
この辺りですか。ノンタイムで4連続で切ってますよね。初めは食い替えかと思いましたが私をチラチラ見ていたので期待しているんだと気づきました。
Akasaka-kun, you.
赤坂さん、あんた麻雀始めてどのくらい？
高校から大学くらいまでの間しかやっていませんが
What the fuck? I did not say anything. Okay? Why do you wear? I do not wear that.
さあ続けましょう。佐藤さんはテンパイしなかった
Okay,
から
I
長い
wear jeans or sweatpants, or in some cases, pajama pants.
おや
Dell in a gopher fursuit and a bloomer with cat ears. That's how I imagine you. And how do you feel about that? Seems like Akasaka-kun is really aware of how the game flows. We thought we were gonna eat him alive, but it looks like that isn't gonna be so easy.
大石さん想図が濃いですね。
I've met you IRL, that's how you look. No! That's not true. Nah, I love bloomers. They're so comfy. Oh my god. Nah. Nah. Your voice is crap. I'm dying. I'm dying here. I have to get water. Give me a second. Wow, okay. Let's try that again. Nah, I love bloomers. They're so comfy. Nah, nah. Now then, let us move on. This is my voice. I'm a very... Yes. This is my voice.
回しますか。
この坊主
Go, babe. No, what do you mean?
クラウド降りるな
Duno is a man, exactly, just like Keiichi.
あと3つ。いい牌が来ればな。佐藤さんはうまくいきそうです。
くそ食いたんで引きずり下ろすか C だ
C ですか。
Straight.
じゃあすみません。それポンです。
Alright, where's my deck of cards at? Next joke. What do we have here? think I've already read this. Yes, read this one. Get this one. Okay. Why was the cat so small? It only drank condensed milk. Wow. Peak comedy. I don't think anything really is funnier in the history of humankind. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, now gonna call it 3 of a kind after he declared it straight? To override and interfere?
坊主、おめえ離れしとるな。
まさか私が生まれる前から打ってるような方々とは比べようもないですよ。それです。ロン、トイトイ赤赤ドラさん。親ですからね。ちょっぴり高いですよ。
くわ
Well, I don't know what this means. Ron, triplets, 2 red Dora, and 3 more Dora. Okay.
赤坂さんやるな。これは我々も本気を出さないと。ねえ。
本気のついでに展望も出してもらいましょうか。私は眠いんで、手っ取り早く終わらせます。
Akasaka-kun? This is somehow unreal. Before I could realize it, there's an ominous cold air emitting from beneath Akasaka-kun's feet.
ぬるいですね。マンズのリャンウーパーが笑ってませんか？
ちくしょう！坊主てめえ！
クラウド、おめえ差し込め。坊主の親、とっとと下ろすぞ。
悔しいですが、どうやらそうした方が賢明なようですね。
出た！ローだ！汎用ドラ1！
Performing like a show. It really is.
すみません
Yeah.
ね。頭っ鼻です。ロン、ピンフ。
頭っぱねだ？小僧のくせに。
小僧が相手だと。
Why is he being like an edgy anime protagonist? I feel like if I knew Mahjong better, this would be hype. I feel like it would be, you know, when people are in poker and they say like, you know, oh, I have a straight. Well, I have a royal flush straight, like double, triple. I feel like that's what's happening right now. Like they're just creating things that don't exist, and they pull out like 10 queens. I feel like that's what's happening.
じゃああんた、その小僧
Like obviously not
ってわけですね。
that, like, you know, fake or whatever, but it feels like things that are probably not doable whatsoever.
面白いな。あんたら連中は決まって小僧だ坊主だって言うよ。
赤坂くん？赤坂くんですよね。なんだかムードが変わりまくりなんですがね。
私をかもって今晩はいいお酒を飲むおつもりだったんでしょうが、どうやら皆さんの当ては外れそうです。の単品3色赤1ドラ1。
おお、張ってやがったか。
だからあんたぬるいよ。いくらダマだからってこんなにぬるい三面なんだから。
Akasaka-kun chuckled as he rested his chin on his hands. That pose was so fitting. It was almost scary.
おいクラウド、話がちげえぞ。初々しいカモがネギ背負ってきたって言ったのは誰だ？
いや
Sun Wu could never true.
誰でしょう。
おいさ、まずいよ。このままじゃ負けるよマジで。
Oh, Sung Jin-woo, true. The Sung Jin-woo from Solo Leveling. Akasaka-kun. Or the Black Swordsman, Kirito Kazugaya. Sorry, wait, was it? I forgot. No, that's not his name. Kirito was like his 2 names put together. Kazugaya Kazuto, that was his name, I think. Looks like you really want to be milked dry.
ポンポン、気前がいいですね。もう一回ポンです。
Akasaka-kun was almost signaling at this point. The evidence in shadow. Holy. I forgot what his name was. The tiles he had. open were all pin tiles. You can't be serious. Are you really going for the flush?
坊主正気か4つもさらしたら
Sid
俺パイ
Kageno,
は一
yes,
つだけ
thank
じゃねえ
you.
かよ
そうですね。知ってます？短期待ちって一番読まれにくいらしいですよ。
バカかてめえそこまで染めてさらしといて今更出ると思うんじゃね
読めてますよ赤坂さん。それ均一でも本一でもないんでしょう。4つポンした時点で問い問いは成立してますからね。
I watched Essay was the first anime I ever watched. Mob, Mob who's in the stream sometimes. He sat me and Ortheo down in a Discord call and forced us to watch the first 2 or 3 episodes of Sword Art Online, and from then it was over. That's how I started watching anime.
あんた今絶好の単独トップ。こいつは均一と見せかけでトイトイで食おうという挑発手でしょう。
そう思うならピンズ大石さんの牌の左5つ
Oh, so much aura. Honestly, the anime does have a lot of aura.
さっきから切り損ねてるピンズですよね。それを端から順に切ってみたらいいんじゃないですか？
He must be joking. Is he a mahjong god? If not, he had to be the main character of a manga or something. Oh, well, I mean, you're not kind of wrong. He's the main character of a visual novel right now. At that moment, the old man sent me a sign under the table. That message was simple and
ク
clear.
ラウドやれ叩き潰せ
こんな若い子に様は好きじゃないんですがね。
アホここまで舐められて今さら弾けるか
もう知りませんよ。ではどうぞ。
行くぞ坊主リーチだオープンで行くぞピンズの一数値待ちだ
Most likely, the tiles Akasaka-kun was waiting for was one of those tiles. With this, Akasaka-kun was no longer capable of winning the hand. When I drew from the wall, I switched out the tile that Akasaka-kun would draw. The tile that I put was the 1 pin. One of the tiles that the old man was waiting for. Akasaka-kun discarded it a little while ago, so there's no threat of it being the one he needed.
おい坊主の番だぜ
I knew he was troubled that the tile he drew was the 1 pin. Of course, he couldn't discard it.
坊主分かってると思うがオープンリーチに振り込んだら
言われるまでもありませんよ。
The tile that came from Akasaka-kun's hand was an honor tile. Well, ain't that something? There's only 1 Northwind tile left, isn't there? You're counting on a really rough wait, weren't you? With this, Akasaka-kun's fate was decided.
カズ命拾いしたなだが手配は1名だ逃げきれなくなることもあるんじゃねえのか
やっぱりそういうことか。
Akasaka-kun glared at the old man with a discerning eye. This guy had pretty good instincts. Did he figure out we were cheating?
やめましょうよやっさん。赤坂君の方が2、3枚は上手です。
Oishi has very good instincts, as we can tell.
バルここまで来てやめられるか次行け掴ませちまえ
The next tile Akasaka-kun would draw was the 7 pin. With that, it would be settled. No matter which one he discarded, he'd play right into the old man's hand. An unavoidable full payout. When I drew my tile, I sneakily swapped Akasaka-san's. Crash. What? Akasaka-kun suddenly sneezed, collapsing the wall of tiles in front of him.
おいおい何やってんだ
すみません。ついくしゃみをした拍子に山を崩しちゃって、バップ払いですね。親だから4000オールですか？それとも、バップは積み棒に？
Okay, Oishi. Unable to hold back, I guffawed. Oh, okay, so we're playing as Oishi. I was wondering what was happening right now. or who we were playing as. Akasaka-kun, knowing he was going to be cornered a second time and unable to escape, he took the drastic measure of knocking over his own wall.
やるなあ坊主。役満払いをそう言ってて防ぐとはな。ガッハハハハハ。
大石さんもそんな見え見えの積み込みは勘弁してください。これが馬場なら今ので卓をひっくり返してたところですよ。
いえいえいえいえいえいえ。すみません。
This is honestly one of my
すみま
favorite
せん
songs, though. Oishi's theme. So far.
あなたを侮っていましたよ。あなたどうして
I really like
お強い
the
じゃない
smooth
ですか
jazz that plays. You like Baby Shark. What's the actual song that started the 6-7 meme? Doesn't he talk about Baby Shark in that song?
正直に話さんかい。若い頃はだいぶ慣らしたんだろ。
早稲田高田の馬場あたりでだいぶ遊ばせてもらいました。ちょっと勝ちまくりすぎて馴染みの店に出禁を食らいまして。
The place I frequented banned me for winning too much.
今の家内にだいぶ怒られて足を洗ったんです。
勝ちまくりすぎて。あんた当時はどのくらいの勝率でやってたの？
メンツにもよりましたが、歌舞伎町あたりで打つときはほぼ負けなし
I'm
でした。
guessing there's probably some famous place.
相手があれ系の人の時
And
は
for
命かかってましたからね。
20 times! What kind of stakes were those? Did you have Yakuza at your table? Or pro baseball players?
なんだなんだクラウドこのタクお前どっからこんなプロ雀士みたいなの引っ張ってきたんだ。もうやめだやめ。ああもう坊主おめえの勝ちだ。降参降参。
ありがとうございます。光栄です。
いやいや。しかし赤坂さん、あんた打つと性格変わるね。なんで就職なんかしたの？あんたならフリーで十分に飯食っていけるじゃない。
You could seriously just play Mahjong and like win tournaments, right? He
プロ
probably
雀士
could.
には腕と月の両方が必要なんですよ。私には後者がありませんでしたから。
好きなんてその時の運不運だろ。あんたほどの腕があれば十分にいけると思うがな。
That's true.
波の月じゃダメなんですよ。関したら3回に1回くらいはそのままカンドラが4つ乗ってここぞという時に狙ってリンシャンが引ける。
What are
そ
you
のくらいじゃ
saying?
ないと。
赤坂君、そんなのが頻繁にできたら
Calling a
それはもう
con?
超能力者ですよ。
One time out of 3, you can aim to win on the extra draw. I have no clue what just was
Yeah.
said.
イカ
Always
様
be
でも超
Mr.
能力で
Air
もなく、
Conditioner? Why
そ
Mr.
の
Air
くらいの打ち手
Conditioner?
は結構いるん
I
で
saw
すよ。
someone make him on Tomodachi Life. How is he like? And someone asked about his AC. But what is this AC thing? I don't get it.
新宿で知り合った泣くたびにドラが乗りまくる雀士なんか鬼のように強かったですし、横浜で打ったプロなんかは当たり前のように一発で引き当ててましたからね。
He had an AC in his car. Oh, yeah, okay. He always has to have the air conditioner on. Yes, I forgot about that.
私にはああいう月がないんです。
What type of folks were those? They weren't named Ryu or Satoshi by any chance. I'm guessing this is more a mahjong thing. Or maybe just like some Japanese thing. And not actually referencing Satoshi. Oh yeah, because Satoshi hasn't disappeared at this point, right? Yeah, so there's no reason to.
というわけで総合トップは私でよろしいですね。
へいへいへい、乾杯でございますよ。うんふんふんふん。
負けた負けた。久しぶりに大負けだ。
しかし打ってる時の坊主気合入ってたな。結構怖かったぜ。
よく言われます。自分ではそんなに目つき変えてるつもりはないんですがね。そんなに怖い目になってましたか？
Why does it sounds like Sesame Street characters when they were like, if you guys seen that, like Oscar or Grover, like the way they like said yes to that. The three of us nodded emphatically in agreement. So that was Akasaka-kun, the Mahjong prodigy. Before he goes home from his assignment, maybe I could have him go play at the high-stakes table in my place. It was not good to get greedy.
じゃあ仕方ないや。約束です。夜の学習会はこれでお開きにしましょう。申し訳ありませんね、おやっさん。今夜はこれでお開きです。
しゃあねえな。消えて寝るわ。体力つけんと体が持たん。
We never got his name, though. Like, you go to a table and you just never get the person's name that you're playing with? I didn't mean to do
じゃあ
that.
仕方ないや。
お仕事が大変なんですか？
ああ、おやっさんはひなみ沢ダムの第一工区の監督さんなんです。
Oh, so this is the guy that dies.
住民とは連日小競り合いをしてますからね。
You're getting good at the laugh, now you need to talk like him.
しんどい商売ですよ。
来年あたり第二校区も任されちまうかもしれね
How
え
would
な。
you say I talk like him? Interesting, huh? Yeah.
黒田さん、血圧上がりまくりって聞いたしよ。身が持たねえや。
おやっさんなら大丈夫でしょう。あなた、見た目よりも面の皮厚めですしね。
俺だって仏じゃねえからな。腹渡にいくり返るときあるぞ。特に、園崎のあの小娘は我慢がならん。
The Sona. Yeah, so she's 10 at this
あ
time.
いつの顔面、いつか簡単には治らんくらいに歪ませ
Okay,
たろ
you
って
need
思って
to
る。
not say that.
まあまあまあ。でも、給料はいいんでしょ？かなり破格の給金だって聞きましたよ。
Are they really? For being, like, I guess the head of the construction, maybe. Or the head of the construction foreman.
おっとりめえだ。あんなに世知がれえ職場で、給料が安かったら誰も残らんよ。
So I can see why Oishi probably has a lot of, honestly dislikes Hinamizawa overall. If somebody that he was friends with, ends up dying because of them. I can understand why he would be very, I don't think discriminatory is the right word, but, it's like he has a bias against people from Hinamizawa.
あ、クラウド。警察はいつになったら村の人間、全部追っ払ってくれるんだ。国から立ち退き命令とか出てるんだろ？
ねえ、どうなってるんでしょうね。
The old man who identified himself as the foreman of the Hinamizawa Dam spewed a few complaints until he felt better about it, then left quickly.
じゃ、行きましょう。あとは佐藤さんに任せますかね。
大石さんは帰られるんですか？
私が一緒でもお邪魔しちゃうだけでしょ。それに佐藤さんの仕事を買ったのはあなたです。私は対価を払ってませんからね。
Which was kind of sketchy, but he was strangely conscientious about some things. But quite a bit of gap between myself and Oichi's generation from that part of him I didn't comprehend.
じゃあ坊主。いや、ジャンシ様にもう坊主なんて言えねえな。赤坂くんでよかったっけ？
はい。
じゃあ赤坂くん、行こうか。
では赤坂さん。
Wait, I thought... Okay, wait, so where are they going to talk then? I thought they were going to just talk in the Mahjong parlor and everyone else is going to leave.
また。何か困ったことがあったらいつでも頼りに来てくださいね。
大石さんにお支払いできるような対価はもう持ってませんよ。
んじゃ、今度の勝負で少し手加減してもらえたらチャラにしますよ。
Oishi, seemingly still not having his fill of playing around, but without overstaying his welcome, disappeared into the night. Okay. That end there? Surely not, right? It has to be the asking questions. Yeah, okay. The informant named Sato-san had to get me into his car before he set off. He favored narrow roads and made numerous short left
左
turns.
折法による尾行確認ですか？
うん。詳しいな。
Check Checking to see if you were being tailored by making left turns was a rather classic technique. If it was just a single pursuer, you could confirm it that way. But if you were being tailed as a team, this archaic method wouldn't let you shake them. Of course, doing it anyway was better than not.
赤坂君が何者かは旦那から何も聞いてないんだが、やっぱり警察関係かい？尾行確認に詳しいなんて、あとは探偵者くらいしか思いつかねえね。
言わなければならないものでないなら、拒否したい質問ですね。
やれやれ。麻雀やってからすっかり雰囲気が大人びちまったな。会った時のあのおどおどしたあんたはどこ行っちゃったんだよ。
I smiled wryly. Looking back now, I had to be a little grateful to being made to play mahjong. Thanks to that, I was able to relieve some tension. Eventually, Sato-san, confirming that there were no cars following us, slipped outside the city. We were on a pitch-black country road, unable to see anything besides the light outside. The only things I was able to hear were the hum of the car's air conditioning and the chirping of insects and frogs. No Higurashi!
旦那からひなみ沢村については多少のことは聞いてんだろ？
御三家という旧家による支配や、現在は園崎家が一党独裁をしているとか、そういう話ですか？
そこまで知ってるなら、くだらない前置きは省略していいな。
I wonder... Okay. Every single year, right? So the first year, it was the dam guy. Wait a second. Wonder if this is Satoko's father. Because his name is Sato. I wonder. But he was assuming that was a alias, which would make sense. Or an alias, because then Sato would be like Satoko.
では、お願いします。犬飼大臣の孫の誘拐に、鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が関与しているか否かを。
That's true. Sato-san checked the rearview mirror one more time to confirm there wasn't anyone behind us before speaking.
昨夜、園崎本家で親族会議が開かれたそうだ。親族会議ってのは、旦那から聞いてるか？
いえ。
普通に親族会議って言ったら、まあ、親戚が集まってお茶でも飲むようなもんだよな。だが、園崎本家の親族会議っていうのは、そんなのんびりしたものってわけが違う。
Because that would make sense why it would be why there would be an informant for the police, and you know, in Hinamizawa, considering they're all so close. You're a YouTube commenter. Yeah. You wouldn't have it any other way. Being first is probably the best. Well, no, now you don't say first. Now you say mythical refresh pull. Family council held by the Sonozaki main house. That would be a meeting between those who truly control Hinamizawa village. It wouldn't be talking about private family matters, it would be about the village as a whole. About organizing activities against the dam project, among other things. Everything would be decided there. In reality, they were deciding the fate of the village. Dude, the walking corpse, man. At the head of the meeting was Oryo Sonozaki. More or less called Empress Sonozaki as the ultimate decision maker of the clan. She was to be feared and respected. Infirm with old age, she was often unable to stand on her own, but her words carried enough weight to sway the fate of the village. And that lately she had grown weak, and on days where she wasn't feeling well, remained bedridden. I'm surprised she lasts at least 6 more years from this point to the events of modern day. Like, she looks like she could fall over and die here. In the middle of a Japanese-style room, still in a futon, only the upper half of her body sitting upright, a stern look on her face. That was Oryo Sonozaki. A family council that occurred while she still wasn't feeling well took place with her on the floor. Sitting next to her was her heir, Mion Sonozaki. She was still young. No, young wasn't quite the right word. She was a girl who remained childish. Her role was to merely sit beside Oryo Sonozaki, sometimes responding to her requests, however. She was the only one deemed worthy to succeed Oryo. She had the same hawkish eyes, enough to give pause to anybody who so much as looked at them. Much was expected of her in the future, this granddaughter of the Sonozaki leader. And also on either side of her sat several other important members of the three remaining families, the Kimiyoshi family and the Furude family. First on the list for the Kimiyoshi family was of course the mayor of Hinamizawa village, Kiichiro Kimiyoshi, and lined up beside him were several more of his direct relatives. Opposite to them sat the other of the three families, and the Furude family. Furude family was only comprised of the family of the Shinto priests, so the only one sitting there was said priest, his wife, and their daughter, Rika. Rika was doted on by many of the older folks in the village, and it seemed that Oryo was no exception. While the stress of just attending a family council was said to be enough to shorten your lifespan by 3 days, it seemed that Rika was the only one exempt from that. No matter how charged the atmosphere was around her, she paid it no mind, instead humming along as she doodled in a sketchbook. In fact, the night before, lying on her stomach while humming and doodling, she nonchalantly tucked her legs into Oryo's futon like it was a kotatsu. Why was that necessary information to give? That's like, you know, I'm assuming he's right now relaying all the information that the informant is giving. Why would that be information necessary for the informant that feel to give? All this was the three families, and all around the room, lined up row upon row, were relatives of the Sonozaki family. The only ones who were afforded cushions to sit on were direct relatives. The others were left to sit in the seiza position directly on the tatami mats. Stoid. While Empress Sonozaki enshrined at their center, they were almost like a giant snake coiled around the room. It was decided that everybody would sit in order of their rank. The number of the people from the Sonozaki family was overwhelming. The fact that the Sonozaki family had so many seats at a meeting where everything pertaining to the village was decided made determining where the balance of the power was held in the three families as clear as day. The number of the members in attendance from each of the families directly reflected how much influence they had in ruling Hinamizawa.
その会議で何が話されたんですか?
Sato-san, after remaining silent for a while, quietly began to speak.
マスコミ関係に支払ってる謝礼金の額が大きいんじゃないかい?
Breaking the long moment of silence was the head of the Kimiyoshi family, Kiichiro Kimiyoshi. The Onigafuchi Guardians wasn't a business. They were nothing more than a private organization pushing for the cancellation of Hinamizawa Dam project, with no reliable source of income. Fundraising had always been a problem. When they first started operating, they had managed to collect a sizable amount of funds through donations, but as the conflict dragged on, that amount was steadily declining.
石を投げるだけが全ての時代じゃないさ。マスコミの力も侮れないのは重々承知しているし。
There's so many voices
今後もその力を借りたいのは同じさ。
that like you have to keep track of, and it's all just man or old man. This sounds like a voice that we've heard before, and I'm assuming maybe it could be the protesters, or it could be the people that abducted the kid. And I feel like I'm leaning more to the protesters. The expressions of the people related to the Sonozaki family were sullen. As the one who suggested that they should borrow that power was the family head, Oryo Sonozaki. Battle wasn't just about force of arms. In this civilized age, there were civilized methods of fighting. Oryo suggested that creating a strategy incorporating the mass media. Oryo's foresight was spot on, and the effects of the plan, while at first unclear, slowly began to manifest. If the physical confrontation at the construction site was meant to delay progress on the dam by even 1 day, and the propaganda war using the media was aimed at attacking the dam project itself. At first, there were those who had doubts about that strategy, but there's nobody now who called those results into question. Why am I a fiend? In order to maintain those media ties, a colossal amount of money was required. As long as the amount of funds they had was abundant, things would turn out fine. It couldn't be argued that it was a massive expense, but the results spoke for themselves. With conflict continuing to drag on, the circumstances had changed. Why am I being called names here? head of the Sonozaki family, no. The one who sat at the pinnacle of the Hinamizawa's families, Oryo, had suggested the idea herself, so it was already untouchable, and continued to be allowed to drain from the budget. Nobody acknowledged that it should be allowed, but nobody could say anything. That was the price of dealing with the mass media.
どう思うお嬢さん。
The only person who could object to a plan proposed by the head of the Hozonozaki household herself was probably Mayor Kimiyoshi. Oryo, with a hard-to-define expression on her face as if she severed herself from the fetters of mortal emotion, simply listened quietly to Kimiyoshi's words. But really, it was hard to tell if she was quietly listening or didn't have the intention of listening at all.
去年機関士の値上げの理解を得るのにも随分苦労したじゃない。一度だけってことで理解を得て、また今年もってわけにはいかないよ。ねえ、古手さん。
The mayor looked to the priest and his wife from the Furude family for affirmation. The priest gave a vague expression, avoiding a prompt response, but his wife gave her answer without a second thought.
そうですね。
Rika's mom.
機関士代は特に貧しい家には大きな負担になっています。みんな自分たちの村のためだからと耐えていますが、これ以上の値上げはやめた方がいいでしょうね。
The bulletin was, as its name implied, a bulletin published by the Onigafuchi Guardians. It outlined the Alliance's activities, ideals, and resolve. You couldn't deny the contents were rather piecemeal. The bulletin's main goal wasn't to inform people, but rather was something to sell to businesses and people living in the village or connected to it, and using those sales to collect funds. In other words, it had been something of a tax. Of course, it didn't have to be said this was one of the main sources of income for the Onigafuchi Guardians. Originally, purchase was supposed to be voluntary, but in Hinamizawa, it has silently become the opposite. In the neighboring towns as well, it seemed that many businesses were buying copies just to avoid butting heads with the Alliance. The priest whispered to his wife not to say anything unnecessary, but was struck down decidedly with a cold glare. Cowering from that glare, the priest shut his mouth. The priest's wife always held power in their relationship. That was because she was the one who carried the Furude bloodline. The priest merely married into the family. Okay, yes, so this means that the mother was the one, like from the Furude bloodline, which I guess we knew already, but yeah. The 8th child would be Rika. He was nothing more than somebody who adopted the name just to join the three families. He should have been able to find a spot fairly high up in the hierarchy of things, but the lack of authority in his voice meant that he had still not gained any favor. Casting a backwards glance at a rather disparate? I don't know. Parents, Rika continued to doodle whimsically without paying them any mind. Signaled by a look from Oryo, Mion brought her ear closer to her grandmother. There was something said to her in a quiet voice. After responding with a couple questions, with a nod from Oryo, Mion looked around the room and conveyed her grandmother's words.
機関士の値上げもやむを得ません。
Kimiyoshi made a face like he had just bitten into something unpleasant. That expression quickly disappeared like it had never happened at all.
だけどミオンちゃん、君だって分かってると思うけど、機関士の負担は決して軽いものじゃない。ひなみ沢のすべての人間にかかる重みなんだ。あんまり負担をかけすぎれば内部から崩れることだって。
内部から崩れるのは誰ですか？
どれって別にそういう意味じゃ。
最初に崩れるのは誰かと聞いています。
Being cross-examined by a girl who still had fragments of childishness remaining within her, the words stuck in Kimiyoshi's throat as he sunk into silence. Mion repeated her question once more, looking around the crowded room. Everybody refrained making eye contact to avoid being pierced by her gaze. The words she had spoken were unarguably said in proxy for Oryo. That's why when Mion spoke them, they carried the same weight. But the look in her eyes was different. Like Oryo, they had a hawkish gaze, strong enough that anybody looking upon them would freeze in their tracks and yield. But that gaze was without question the one that belonged to Mion herself. As Mion would eventually inherit everything from Oryo, the day when she would stand up as a young and capable leader in her own right would come. Nobody wanted to believe otherwise for even a minute. That's why nobody even thought of Mion as just some sort of little kid.
君吉さん、 機関士の値上げごときでは誰の決意も崩れませんよ。
Kimiyoshi, while crumpling a little bit, made a gesture as if to say he had no objection. So, how does this guy even know this information? Because the three families are sitting in. So how does Sato here know this information?
マスコミ関係への出費は継続とします。その出費がさらに圧迫となるようなら、機関士の値上げもやむを得ない。
Mion had rendered her judgment. Everybody bowed their heads, silently listening to her words.
園崎家当主代行、園崎美音です。我が名において、以上決定し、決定異議はこれを認めず、抵抗ある場合は、実力をもって排除します。
The formal decree was read aloud, indicating her judgment. There would be no retrial, but there was certain authority behind those words that even a courthouse couldn't compare to. If she was a judge, she would have been banged her gavel, signaling that the matter was settled. Mion pulled a large bell from inside her clothes and rang it. There's that bell again. Everybody present could only prostrate themselves before the harsh sound of the bell.
なんとも大時代的な
I
親
wouldn't
族会
even
議で
call
す
that a
ね。
bell. I'd call it like a chimes.
あんたみたいな若いもんにはちょっと信じられないだろうけどね。こういう古い土地にはこんなのが未だ根強く残ってるもんさ。
It was exactly as Oishi had said. The old system of the three families had vanished. Now the Sonozaki family was running things by themselves. On top of that, their rule was borderline despotic.
会議はそれで終わりですか？
いや、まだ続く。先を続けるよ。
Eventually, after the ringing of the bell ceased, there was a deafening silence. Within all that, a lone man shuffled closer to Mion and whispered something in her ear. Mion asked several questions quietly in response. When she was satisfied, she motioned for the man to leave. The man who talked to Mion was a member of the gang that her father was the leader of. That organization had the entire area of Shishibone City under its control, so it was quite well known even here. Of course, it was talking about the criminal underworld, so it's not like just anybody would know. But just showing a patch with the gang symbol on it was enough to resolve any disputes in the neighborhood. Mion's biological father, to Oryo, was her daughter's husband. Ah. Okay. So the father... Mion's father has the gang. Yeah. And so that man, from his position as the next in line to control the three families, continued to coerce everybody around him with his unconventional presence. Mion exchanged a look with her father. Was it okay for her to tell what she just heard directly to Oryo? It looked like she was asking him that question. Her father gently but firmly nodded his response. Mion also nodded, then sidled up to Oryo and informed her of something. Eventually, Mion finished conveying her message, separated herself from Oryo, and fixed her posture, waiting for Oryo to signal her response. It wasn't that often that Oryo showed any emotion. That's why when she started to laugh quietly, a vague sense of uneasiness crept over everyone in that room.
そら、難儀なこともあったものよの。
Oryo was laughing so happily that Kimiyoshi had to hesitantly ask.
どうしたんだい、お嬢さん。
我らにとって土地が母なら、この度のダムの騒ぎは、母の命を脅かされる騒ぎっちゅうことだろうな。
Kimiyoshi, unable to comprehend the meaning of her words, looked confused. Oryo, with a wide grin on her face, turned towards everybody and addressed them with a clarion voice.
ダムの親玉の大臣がの、孫さらわれちまって、
Are they gonna say that they sent someone here?
話だ。こんれでおあいこだの。
Oh no, okay. We're talking about the kidnapping. The information on the kidnapping of Minister Inukai's grandson shouldn't have leaked from anywhere. How did they know? Even if we didn't know much about the kidnapping incident, exactly how did an antiquated household so far from Tokyo come to know of it? It was a tranquil place, but I couldn't help but have an uneasy feeling about the Hinamizawa village. At some point, I had mentally filled this place, father's place, away as unrelated to the incident at hand. That mental paperwork had just blown away in the wind.
どうして鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が知っているんだ。
Sato-san, unable to come up with an answer, fell into
すみませ
silence.
ん。続きをお願いします。
なあ、
犬飼建設大臣のお孫さんがさらわれた。お嬢さん、それは本当かい？
The mayor of that major of an incident was nowhere to be seen in the newspapers or on TV. And in Hinamizawa, there is nothing strange about Oryo knowing something that the rest of the world didn't.
我らの痛みは母を失う痛みじゃの。それに値するとは思わんが、孫を失う痛み。少しは答えるといいんじゃがの。なあ。
The last question wasn't addressed to anybody in particular. It was as if she was looking for a consensus.
だが、土地と人様の子供ではわけが違う。隠すのは構わんが、怪我だけはさせたくないものよの。ここには何の罪もねえ。大事にしたれな。
それはつまり鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が誘拐事件に関与している。
うん。必ずしもそうとは言えねえな。
どうして当主であるお涼がこれほどまではっきりと誘拐した孫の処遇について指示を出しているのに。
兄さん、こりゃね、園崎家のいつものことなんだよ。
いつものこと？それはどういう意味です？
Let's say there was a particular problem, one that wasn't exactly favorable for the Sonozaki family. Oryo shows concern over that particular problem. Hearing that, somebody who attended the family council would help. As a result, Oryo's wish would be granted. However, neither Oryo nor anyone else would know who actually did it. With this kind of clever little ploy, the Sonozaki family was able to manipulate events even though they had their hands laid out on the table.
では親族会議に出席していた誰かが犯人ということですか？
Well, I think we already know it was the father.
あるいはそもそも犯人なんかいない可能性だってあるよな。俺自身、その万座の一同の中に誘拐犯がいるって確信を持ってるわけじゃない。ただ、自分の意見を述べただけさ。
It was an odd and unpleasantly secretive way of doing things. Sorry, give me a second. Okay. Were they involved or weren't they? I couldn't see beyond the veil. This much, however, I could say with certainty. This kidnapping was an ironclad secret. No matter how high a position someone was in, even they wouldn't know about it. If there was somebody who would know about it, they would be connected to the public safety. In other words, one of us. The only other options were people connected to the case itself. Including the minister, there would be people affected by this incident, or people that committed it. In any case, there is no way an old household in a place removed from Tokyo by over 6 hours of highway travel should know about it. And knowing at all was already strange. My suspicions began to accumulate, like falling snow.
孫の誘拐についてお涼が述べたのはここまでだ。
Okay, so I think we'll probably only do this one today. Because then we'll have to do the tips afterwards as well.
あんたの知りたかったことが含まれてりゃいいんだがな。
Because I am feeling a bit tired. And if it was 2 hours exactly, then it would be fine, but it seems like it's going a bit longer than that. And I don't want to end up doing 3 hours,
あとは
let's say.
兄ちゃんの仕事だな。何のお仕事やってるか知らんけど、園崎家を相手にするなら相当の覚悟でやっとけよ。大石の旦那は怖いもの知らずだけどな。あれでも2、3回は襲われてる。最近は来てないけど、 一時はオフの時も防塵ベストを着込んでたんだよな。
Damn.
忠告ありがとうございます。
Is Oishi
気を
married?
つけることにします。
I don't think so, because then he goes to like the brothels and stuff like that. How do you never find like a significant other?
標準語が流暢だよな。兄さんは東京とかの人？
それが何か？
Investigators were always close to danger. It was best not to divulge any information on
兄さんの
myself.
お仕事だけどさ、ひょっとして警視庁の公安部の人ってことある？
I could remain silent here. It would be the same thing as admitting it.
まさか。
こっから旦那からもらった金の範囲には入らないんだが、兄さんとは今日宅を囲んだ仲間だからな。サービスってことで話してやるよ。お寮から誘拐の話が出た後、もう一つ話題が出たんだ。
Another topic that Oreo brought up? Right before he told me this, Sato-san asked if I was from the Metropolitan Public Safety Division. In other words, what those two things meant caused a chill to run up my spine.
そんでな、大臣の孫サラッターノを調べるために東京からはるばる公安の捜査官が派遣されてくるっちゅう話だ。
公安の捜査官？
大臣の孫の誘拐な、うかつにゃ大ごとにできゃんってことで、警視庁の公安部が独自で調べとるっちゅう話だ。はっ、大行なこったの。どうした？
Rika, who'd been drawing the entire time, was completely uninterested in the conversation up until now, looked at Oreo with an interested face as soon as the topic of public safety came up.
警視庁が来たのですか？
リカちゃまは警視庁も知ってなさるんかい。偉いの。
誰が来たのですか？
公安のどんな奴が来よったんか、誰ぞわかる奴はおらんかいな。
Mion's father raised his hand slightly.
新米の若造が一人と聞き及んでおります。
新米？ほかほかなのですか？
ん？ええ、はい、新米とか。
Mion's father smiled wryly as he answered Rika's
ほかほ
question.
かのふかふか？
ええ。
ほかほかのふかふか？
Rika smiled with interest. Why did Rika suddenly act interested only when it came to this topic? That was a question that apparently nobody had the answer
リ
to.
カちゃまはその男のこと何か知っているのかな？
知んないのですよ。
She knows. After her rather flat reply, Rika buried herself underneath Orio's futon again. When she buried herself there, Rika no longer started drawing again. Instead, she was making an expression like she was deep in contemplation.
どうしますか、お母さん。
Mion's father posed the question. He had the type of uncouth expression on his face, indicating that, given the order, he could snuff out the problem at any time.
はるばるひなみ沢まで来よった。しばらくはのんびりさせてやるのもよかろう。
泳がせろということでしょうか。
Mion's father asked in response. Orio smiled thinly as she responded.
ほっといたれな。が、あんまりおいたが過ぎるようやった。そん時は遠慮せんとな。なめられるのはすっきゃせんね。
なんて話があったそうだ。まさかあんた、その警視庁の新米じゃないよな。
まさか。
Dude. Like, I don't know why at this current point in time, after you heard that piece of information, that you wouldn't tell him. Like, I'm sorry, this is probably the best guy you could tell. The sensation of cold, bristling fear began to crawl its way up my back. The family council took place last night. In other words, yesterday. And today, when I was dressed up as a tourist headed towards Hinamizawa, my cover was already blown? When I remembered the first person I met when I got to the bus stop, I couldn't breathe. The person at the family council who expressed interest in the man being dispatched from the Metropolitan Police, Rika Furude. And the person who was waiting for me the whole time in the bus shelter, Rika Furude. It was an unthinkable image. No, it was a delusion. When we met at the bus shelter, did Rika-chan already know my true identity? Did she know that I was Akasaka, dispatched from the Metropolitan Police Department and can't come to meet me? then including Mayor Kimiyoshi, every villager that I met, everybody knew but just pretended not to, because Audio had given instructions not to interfere. Thinking about it logically, it didn't seem possible. I met quite a number of people. If there's people that are good at acting, then there's people that are better at hiding things. If there are that many people, then there should have been somebody among them who knew I was from public safety and couldn't hide their hostility. However, I didn't feel any presence like that. But then, even still, why did Audio tell them to leave me alone? Was it because if they were careless about it, it would only raise more suspicion? Was it because they believed a rookie like me wouldn't be able to find anything? Akasaka is a coward. I recalled that strange voice which could only make me believe that Rika-chan had been possessed. That unknown entity, no matter how you looked at it, knew my true identity from the get-go. And then, how did it warn me again? That's right. It warned me to hurry up and go back to Tokyo. Instead of the realistic worry that the Onigafuchi Gardens had discovered my identity, the absurd worry brought on by the unknown girl stuck with me more. What exactly was that girl? What was the thing that I would eventually regret? That mysterious girl. Rika Furute. Let's stop this. Everything I was thinking of right now was merely conjecture. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, I'll report everything I heard right now to HQ and await further orders. There is no mistaking that the possibility of the Onigafuchi Guardians were related to this case was there, and that the fact my cover was blown meant that I was in a precarious position. But as everybody at HQ was already extremely busy, they might not be able to spare the support.
もういいかい？よければ好きなところまで送るよ。
あ、すみません。では、お会いした元の駅までお願いします。
A rural road where even a street light was rare. I couldn't see anything. I wasn't aware of anything, but the asphalt out was lit up by the headlights. Outside of that light, was it simply darkness? Was there something lurking there, waiting to strike? I had to think I drew the short straw here. I wanted to go back to Tokyo. For some reason, the voice of the girl warning me to go back to Tokyo still lingered in my head. Damn. So they knew. They knew who he was. There's always a lot of tips. There's always a lot of tips for at the end of this here. Showed off your skills, Mahjong Prodigy. Only 2 more. 3 more. Only 3 more sections. This chapter's very info dumpy. I mean, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, only 3 more sections left, so we're halfway through. So, if I did, let's see, today's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If I'm able to do 2 in one day, I might be, which I guess would be tomorrow. I would try to do 2. I don't know if I will, but we can see. Depends how far I make it. Then, after, on Saturday, I might be able to finish up chapter 4. Let me save here first. Blood again. Investigation runs around.
昨日銀座の料亭でお会いしてね、そういう話が出たんだよ。
別室の謁見でしょう。連中、公安に干渉しすぎですよ。あまり迎合すると悪い洗礼を残しますね。
犬飼大臣は公安の動きに不快感をあらわにしているらしい。多分、月曜の町議で次官からその旨の話が出るんじゃないかと思う。参ったな。
次官へは局長級に話つけてもらうしかないですよ。給料を多くもらってる人の当然の仕事ってことで。
まあそうなると局長からは絶対に大臣脅迫の物証を求められるよな。
あの人、たまにどっちの味方かわかんなくなりますね。うちらの味方しなくてどうすんのっての。
まあ多分大臣を経由しての圧力だと思ってるけどね。俺が時間室で油汗かいて時間稼ぐ間に調査進めてもらうしかないよな。全身の汗絞られて絞りかすになっちゃうかもしれないけどな。でどうなの？
調査の進行は。
期待してた濃厚なラインがことごとく外れて、正直途方に暮れてます。
最近の大臣発言をまとめると、ひなみ沢ダムの計画の話が目立つっていう報告を聞いたけど、それはどうなの？
目立つっていうか、本当に微細な程度の違和感ですね。たまたま県議連でのスピーチだったから、時事ネタを話しただけかもしれないし。
確か地元団体が過激に抵抗してるってやつだっけ？鬼ヶ淵死守同盟。確か赤坂君に調べてもらってたよね。
僕は連中には今回の事件は起こせないと踏んでいます。ですが、疑わしいところのほとんどが真っ白な以上、疑いの枠から外すわけにはいかないかもですね。赤坂君からはその可能性は否定できないとの軽い報告は受けています。
なら調べてみる価値はあるんじゃないの？しらみつぶしなんだから、残る疑わしい団体がそこ一つならやるしかないでしょ。
ま、調べる団体はそこだけじゃないんですがね。鬼ヶ淵と同じ程度のレベルで疑わしい団体になると、もう相当の数になりますよ。人手も時間も残業代も全然足りません。
赤坂君からさ、もうちょっと詳しく聞いてみてよ。俺はちょっと要注意に感じるけどな、その死守同盟。
彼、村人とうまく接触できたって連絡してきました。現地の警察とも連携できてるみたいですね。
赤坂君との連絡密にしてください。それで彼からの情報が引っかかるようであれば、増援を送ることもありということで。
わかりました。あ、すいません、片岡市長。局長からお電話です。
I wonder what's the point of this scene,
こっちに回しますか。
ああ、いい、そっち行きます。もしもし。
I wonder what the point of this scene, what is the point of this? I don't get that. Do you believe that there are choices in life? There are many people who lament the following. If there only existed points in life where there were clear choices to make, we would be able to scrutinize those carefully and make decisions that would lead us to a better future. Here we go into philosophy again. I don't even know what this blood thing is. Every time I hear people lament as such, I cast it off as a rather trivial worry. Even if you were given a clear choice, it wouldn't be meaningful at all, and there wouldn't be any such path to a better future. Is this hard to understand? Let's pretend that in front of you there are two strange boxes. Oh, wow. Two strange boxes, okay. There are two boxes. In other words, you have two clear choices. You open the red box or the blue box. A lot of things would be uncertain even with that choice, wouldn't they? If you don't have the option of opening neither, then your choice boils down to the natural impulse of opening the box that holds the better result for you. And after examining the shape and features of each and pondering a great many things, you have to pick either the red or the blue. If this was you, which box would you open? I would open the blue box. And I'm pretty sure that's a psychological thing, because we associate red more with danger, and blue with calm, peaceful things. Red or blue? If you to go by the traditional meanings, then red would be a danger. Oh, wow. However, that doesn't automatically mean it would be calm and relaxing inside the blue box either. In fact, it might be that the colors are a trap, make you wary of the red box and have you open the blue. You see, I didn't think about it that much. A trap? Could it be the contents of the box aren't a reward, but rather a penalty? See, now you're at a loss. You're so conflicted over the choices between red and blue that you started wishing there was an option to open neither and just leave. But there isn't. You have to open either the red box or the blue box. Oh, I forgot to say this, but if you chose one box, the other will disappear. So you'll never know the contents of the box you don't open. I'll just put that rule at the end there for you. Now, why don't you choose? The red box or the blue box? It's alright, you won't lose anything by picking either one. Come on now. Wait, my choice here! I'm gonna open the blue box. Have you thought about it? In the end, you chose this color, didn't you? As soon as you chose, the other box disappeared. You can give upon the contents of that one, okay? That's the rule. Now open the box you chose. Inside the box there was a stick of chewing gum. I know you're a little disappointed. Well, that's only natural. No matter how you look at it, it looks like you drew the dud. The cracked box might have had a bar of chocolate in it for all you know. No, in fact, something incredible like a pair of tickets to Hawaii might have been there. But even if you wanted to verify that, the other box has already disappeared. There's no way you can check now. If you think of it from an optimistic point of view, just maybe the other box was empty and this box was the winner. And being satisfied, or perhaps not, with such a cheap prize, you pop it in your mouth, and started chewing happily. What did you think in the end? If you were given a second chance, would you try to open the other box? Yeah, we're gonna go open the other box. But unfortunately, the chance to choose between the red box or the blue box has come and gone, never to be seen again. The chance to change your selection will never come. When your parents often say every choice you make in life only happens once, so choose carefully. See? Choices aren't that great after all. Aren't you a little disillusioned now? Alright, let's do that again. What's in the box? We're gonna open the red box now. Have you thought about it? In the end, okay, yeah. A piece of caramel. Right now you're thinking, that's it? That's right, the contents of the red box and the blue box were a piece of caramel and a Wait, so they know I went back. Might have thought you made the wrong choice before, but now seeing them together like this, you can't really say that either choice was the wrong one. Well, I guess everybody has their personal preferences. If you prefer caramel to gum, for example, you're definitely thinking of choosing to open the box again based on that preference. The clear choices you wanted were basically this. The selfish desire to open up both boxes and compare the contents, then pick the one that most suited to you. But you see, reality is the same as this game. You pick the one you didn't choose. If you pick one, the one you didn't choose disappears. There's no way you could check the result. If at that time you had done this, or perhaps if you had done that, then it wouldn't be hard for you to imagine that you could be happier, or perhaps less happy than you are right now. In the end, you only have the pleasure of approving of, or being disappointed by, the choice that you did make. But that's fine. After all, didn't you enjoy the thrill of making the choice? If, like now, you knew the contents of both boxes, then the choice between the red box or the blue box would have just been a waste of time. I disagree. Because instead of this boring game about boxes, you could be looking at the quickly changing evening summer sky, listening for the distant sound of thunder, and pondering if it's going to rain or not. That would be much more fun. This box game was way more fun than any of these things. You chose like the three most boring things in the world. Like, what? Like, they didn't even say looking at rain clouds or anything. They say pondering if it's going to rain or not, looking at the quickly changing evening summer sky, literally looking at the sunset. Like, when the sun's not setting. Like, there's, like, a sunset's cool because it's setting at that point in time. You're not, like, looking for the sun to set. And listening for the distant sound of thunder, you don't even know if it's raining in the distance. Wow. The glint in the demon's eye.
はい。それで、お通夜が会場は沖宮セレモニーホールになります。
か。池澤助役のお孫さんの葬式じゃ、何にも挨拶なしってわけにもいかんね。
You're dumb. How am I dumb?
いいよ。代わりに出てえな。
うん、了解。喪服で行く？香典はいくらくらい？
学校の服でえんね。前のボタンちゃんと止めてくんねよ。香典は5万。10万包んだりな。世話になったかんな。
Young quietly whistled in awe at the exorbitant amount of money her grandmother was offering.
池澤さんはな、沖宮の事務所長だった頃から、しっかりした人だったんで。役人は挨拶って言っても、絶対に玄関までしか来ん。でもな、池澤さんはわしがお茶を勧めると、いっつも上がってくれて、ちゃんと話を聞いてくれた。人の話を最後まで聞く。 本当に鏡みたいな人だったね。
The two guests made a show of nodding, making it clear they were paying attention as Odio reminisced. The sight of them trying not to get on Odio's bad side was humorous enough to elicit laughter from Mion occasionally.
池澤助役のお孫さんはいくつで亡くなったんね。
I'm not sure.
11歳だそうで。
I think honor makes more sense. Odio closed her eyes and shook her head lightly, lamenting the loss of such a young life.
孫は一人だ言うてんな。かわいそうにな。親より先に死ぬほどの親不孝あるめな。
ばっちゃんも他人には優しいね。私やシオンが死んだら同じように悲しんでくれる？
アホ抜かすんでね。演技でもねすったなんと、しゃらーったく。
Having got the reaction she expected, Mion cackled. Two guests, unsure if they were supposed to laugh along, instead forced awkward smiles.
それでは本日は失礼いたします。では、明日の夕方5時にお迎えに参りますんで、よろしくお願いいたします。では、ごめんくださいませ。
After bowing their heads repeatedly, the guests left by the front door. Mion saw them off, waving her little hand goodbye.
帰ったよ。お役人もばっちゃんのご機嫌伺いに大変だね。不法なんか電話でいいと思うのにね。
Well, it was true that Odio Sonozaki was an essential person for both her relatives and the residents of Hinamizawa village as a whole. As a voting bloc, they numbered in the several thousands. It wasn't hard to imagine. The Sonozaki family is... No. Hinamizawa village. Okay. Several thousand? But still, I guess 2,000 is technically several thousand, but it wasn't even 2,000. It was 1,766 residents in Hinamizawa. So that's just not right either. It wasn't hard to imagine the mayor would try to pander to her. Unlike Mion, however, Ori was looking up longingly at the sky from the
どうしたの？
veranda.
した？
Dude, Mion, I can't. Like, how are you still the same when you're 10?
誰のお孫さんであろうと。気の毒だのう思ったんよ。
Saying that, she let out a deep sigh. Mion was let down, as normally her grandmother would have scolded her for that attitude.
ミオ、これ、例の大臣の孫、さらわれてからどのくらいになる？
4日かな。
Ori let out another deep sigh.
旧敵の孫とはいえ、気の毒だな。
そう。
十分気はせいたんろ。そろそろ終わりにしちゃれな。
Mion seems a lot more heartless compared to Audio. The playful expression drained from Mion's face, leaving behind a stern one. And then, as if to ascertain Audio's will, looked into her eyes. Audio, expressing her attention with only those eyes, looked back into
お茶
Mion's.
が欲しんで頼んでな。さっきのチョコレートも食べといね。
Mion gave a small nod, then turned around.
シミコさん、いますか？ばっちゃんに紅茶入れてあげてください。
From far away, a voice responded in the affirmative. Mion, after confirming she'd been heard, picked up the phone and began dialing.
あ、もしもし？ミオンだけど。うちのお父さん、います？
Mion is way more hard. Like, she is completely locked in. She does not care about, especially when we know what happens in the next years. Mion developed more empathy. That is true, but hard to say. Maybe it actually leads to less empathy and instead more believing into... I don't know, actually. I really don't know. Because you really would think that, I guess, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. But yeah, I definitely cannot think. I'm gonna go, once again, head to bed. I am feeling tired, so it's a good time for me to do that. So, yeah. Wow. Yeah. So tomorrow, I will try to see if I will do 2, because I think that is the most ideal thing to do. So if I see if I can get 2 done tomorrow, but it will also depend on how tired I am there as well. So, yeah. Thank you for everyone who stopped by the stream. It was an interesting episode. A pretty slow episode today. Or pretty slow segment today. Yeah, episode is Umineko. Pretty slow segment, but you know, it was a lot of info. Give us more stuff. We also had what was basically a club activity, so yeah. It's interested to see where this leads to, if we do end up saving the grandson or something else entirely. But yeah. Thank you for everyone who stopped by. I appreciate it, and I'll be back with more Higurashi tomorrow. Classic Higurashi. Yeah, exactly. Goodbye, everyone.